Hey Flower Tribe, it's Kelly Lehman from Cranbury Fields Flower Farm, and today I want to give you some more hydrangea tips. I want to tell you all about how I cut some of the hydrangeas that are coming up all over the flower farm this time of year. So I'm in New Jersey, planting hardiness zone 6, and it is the beginning of September. I think it's September 9th today. First day of school for a lot of people. Anybody have kids going off to school today? Let me know where you guys are viewing this from. Just a general area, like which country or which state, because I love to see how our flower tribe is growing around the globe each week. So let me get better situated here. I had to deliver a ton of flowers to the school this morning. So, you know, we hit the ground running this morning. So we were making up flowers and delivering them, but I wanted to give you guys a load of hydrangea tips today. And as we were cutting out in the field, I'm like, oh, I got to tell the flower tribe about some of this stuff. So give me a minute just to catch my breath. I'm going to grab a quick sip of coffee. Grab a cup of coffee if you guys want. I love having coffee and flowers with you every Thursday at 10:30 a.m. And oh, hey, Lisa, thanks for joining us from Sacramento. Wonderful. Priscilla Thomas from Annapolis. Love it, love it, love it. Naside Stories, you're watching from the Philippines. I love it. Wow, so far away. I love that you're all here together. So this is a vase of some of the hydrangeas that we cut today, and it's been crazy wet weather here. So we got slammed. I think that New Jersey might have won the prize for the most amount of rain that was dropped in a short period of time from that storm Henry. I think we got like 3 inches of water in 2 hours. So we have been just like inundated with water, and I want to show you what some of my plants look like because of that. And I'm going to show you some plants that I bought at a store that don't look so good, but they're really terrific. I'm going to tell you how to like buy some plants too at this time of year, because this is a terrific time of year to buy plants. So I'm going to give you some of those tips today also. So, okay, so I think I caught my breath over here. And I want to thank Mr. Retherno, or Mr. Retherino, because he, in comments last week, said, hey, can you show us how to dry out our hydrangeas for like a dried flower arrangement? And so a lot of this video was based on his suggestions. So please always give me suggestions on what you'd like to see. And please also, like in comments below, ask me your garden questions. I'll try to get to as many of them as I can. And even today in the chat, I'll try to get to a whole bunch. Hey, Tara from New York City. And so let's jump right in. But once again, thank you, Mr. Ratherino, for giving me this tip. So let me just get some of the rain off of me from outside. I'm still dripping wet. Lucy's soaked. She's like in back of me. I don't know if you guys can see her back there. She's floating around. That's that big boat floating around in back of me. So here's the story, guys. When I cut my limelight hydrangeas, so I guess I'll go like hydrangea by hydrangea. So let me show you like one of my largest limelight hydrangeas. This is one of my largest limelight hydrangea blooms. It is colossal. And the reason why it's so colossal is because I had pruned back my limelight hydrangea tree, like I guess you call it the beginning of spring of this year. And I usually don't prune back my hydrangeas. I'm a big fan of leaving them alone. A lot of people think that you have to prune your hydrangeas to get great blooms. And the truth of the matter is a lot of times, or most of the time, you don't have to, as long as they're happy where they're planted. So I did give my limelight hydrangea a pruning. I cut off like 1/3 of the plant back in the beginning of spring because it wasn't giving me as many blooms as it had in past years. I mean, the plant was like 15 years old already, so it just needed a little bit of a recharge. And when I did that, I got these giant colossal blooms. I mean, look how giant this bloom is. It's literally as big as my head. So I'm going to give you like a little close up here. I'm going to give you a little spin. But we've been making some insane flower arrangements out of these guys. And if you go onto my Cranbury Fields Instagram, you'll see today there's a posting. We just delivered this. I mean, when I walked into the school office today, I walked in with this arrangement like this. The vase was this big, and the flowers, it looked like something going to like a wedding. It was gigantic, and it was all made out of these limelight hydrangeas. And the beauty of that arrangement that I delivered this morning is that the person that received it is going to have a dried arrangement in about 2 or 3 weeks, because these limelight hydrangeas were cut at the perfect time so that they're going to dry out in the vase. And then this person's going to wind up having like this amazing, like dried flower arrangement. So here's what I did. I went out to the garden and I found the hydrangeas that were green. Now I'm going to give you a little side by side. This is also a limelight hydrangea. And this is awesome that I can show you this. This limelight hydrangea came from one of my plants that I didn't prune back. So I have a ton of gorgeous, beautiful limelight hydrangea blooms, but you can tell the size difference. I mean, look at that. So the rule of thumb is if you want giant, colossal limelight hydrangeas, give them a pruning in early spring. If you don't want these giant heads, and these also make like the branches flop, then just don't cut them. But I don't usually harvest them in this stage, like they're this puffy, beautiful white stage. And the reason for that is when I find that when I put them in the vase, when they're this beautiful white stage, they turn brown after like maybe 5 or 6 days. You know, they just kind of, you know, they act like a normal flower, like it goes into the vase, and then after like 5 or 6 days, it turns brown. But the trick is to harvest them when they're in this green, almost, there's like some pink on here too. Can you guys kind of see those pink? And I'll even wait longer. Like normally I would have waited even longer, but I had like all these arrangements due. So if you can cut them in this green, pinky stage, and then just plunk them in a vase of fresh water, they will dry out after about maybe 5 or 6 days. And when they're dried out, they look like this. Let me kind of scooch over here. I have a table like packed with flowers. I'm just waiting to like knock something over. This is what a bloom looks like after about 2 weeks. I mean, not too shabby, right? I mean, this is like paper right now. So I have an arrangement that's, you know, I have a lot of arrangements all over my house. And they're just these giant, colossal limelight hydrangeas. And every now and then they'll lose their color, and I'll give them a shot of floral spray paint. And I have like all these tools that I tell you guys about. I'll always list them in descriptions below. I have an Amazon shop page. So I'll always have a lot of the items that I talk about, like floral spray paint and where to get your limelight hydrangeas. And you can kind of grab that in descriptions below if you ever want to play with some of the things that I've been playing with during these videos. So anyway, so this is the dried limelight hydrangea. I basically, once again, just put it in a vase of water. This is important. Keep it out of direct sunlight, because if you have that vase sitting in that direct sunlight, it's going to like turn this brown. So even though you harvested it in the right stage, like you harvested it in this green, deep green, beautiful stage, but if you put it in a vase of water in front of that direct sunlight, it's not going to dry like this. It's going to get kind of brown, crispy, and it's not going to be great for a dried flower arrangement. So just leave it in your home, someplace where that direct sun isn't beating on it, or like where it's not next to like a direct heat source, like, you know, a stove top or a heating duct. Not that anybody has the heat on now. Maybe some of you do, because you're from all over the world. But anyway, keep it away from direct heat sources, and it should dry out to this gorgeous, beautiful bloom that looks like this. Okay, so let me show you who else I have here. I've got an endless summer, and this is the perfect stage to cut these gals out also. So this is, I'm going to hold it up a little bit closer over here. It's almost like an antique-y, bluey, purpley stage. And this is the best time to cut this hydrangea out also. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to trim this, and I just plunk it into like a vase of fresh water. And then I'm going to keep it out of direct sunlight. And these colors are going to stay. I mean, they're beautiful. They're blues and purples, and they're actually outstanding. I'm going to change my lighting a bit, guys, because I feel like it's not picking up the true color. Bear with me. And I want to thank you guys that have supported me on my supporters page by buying me a cup of coffee. I have in a link below. You can buy me a cup of coffee if you're enjoying my flower tips. You don't have to. I'm going to wind up giving you these tips for free anyway. But enough supporters bought me a cup of coffee that I just bought like a lighting ring. Of course, I don't know how to use it yet, because I'm just not very techno savvy. I will figure out how to use it. And I thought I had it going good. Let me change it real quick. But thank you for the lighting ring, Flower Tribe. I owe this all to you. Let me get the lighting a little bit better, just so I can show you this blue a little bit better. Bear with me. Okay, I think that's going to be better. Oh, so much better. Okay, so these are the colors. Oh, that's so much better. Oh, thank you for my light ring. Oh, that was awesome. My next thing I'm trying to buy is one of those, the wireless microphones. So that's like next on the wish list. So, but we'll get there. All right, so here's what this looks like. It's blue, it's purple, it's gorgeous. And this is just gonna dry out beautifully in that vase, and then you're gonna have a beautiful dried flower arrangement from your endless summer. This is a bloom that's totally mushy. And it got super mushy because of all that moisture that I told you about. It's a really good idea, guys, if you're out in your garden, to give blooms that look like this a deadhead. Because what's going to happen is this bloom is going to affect all the other blooms that are touching it, and it's going to make them mushy too. So if you can get rid of the blooms that have this brown mushiness, just, you know, snip it off. then you'll be all set. Now, this is from my Endless Summer, one of the branches, and I cut this one a little bit long. I usually don't cut my Endless Summer branches long at this time of year because a lot of next year's flowers are being formed on them. So normally I would cut them a lot shorter, but this guy was close to the bottom, so I gave him a snip, and I wanted to show you what that looked like. Hold on, you cannot write this stuff. I'm sorry, I have one of those like vacuum cleaners that kind of like go on automatically, and of course it went on now. Hold on like 1 second, I swear I'll be right back. Hold on, yikes. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, like I said, you can't write this stuff. All right, so let's go on to the next gallon here. I've got some other limelight hydrangeas that are pink. So I think the rule of thumb with these pink ones, it seems like the limelight hydrangeas that were younger have a ton of pink on them. So it's the same plant, it's just a younger version. So this guy is probably about, I'd say about maybe 5 years old, as opposed to the big mama one that I showed you before, and that guy is about 15 years old. So you can tell there's a difference in, like the size, there's a difference in the color. So sometimes people will say, oh, my neighbors have beautiful limelight hydrangeas, how come mine aren't doing well? Well, they are doing well, they're just smaller and they're just not mature enough yet, but these are beautiful also. So this is a beautiful stage to cut them at. This is kind of like this kind of like pinky greeny stage, and this is just from a younger limelight hydrangea, and I would do the same thing. I would just kind of plunk it in water. Now I know that some people like to dry out flowers by hanging them upside down. So let me know what your experience has been with that. Like some people I think will cut them from the garden and they'll just hang them with like a little bit of twine, maybe in like a cool, dark place in like a garage or a basement to dry out their flowers. Let me know if any of you guys do that. Let me know in comments to the side or comments below. And that would be great because I'm always looking for like better tips to share with you. And the Flower Tribe gives like the best tips. And so make sure that you guys also hop over to my Kelly Lehman's Flower Tribe Facebook group page, because there's close to 4,000 gardeners on there from all over the world, and they're helping me by answering each other's questions because I can't get to everybody's questions every week. I get like hundreds of them. I try to answer as many as I can, but you guys are answering each other's questions. So it's Kelly Lehman's Flower Tribe Facebook group. Hop on over there, and guys, let me know over there and over here if you have any great tips for drying out your hydrangeas. So so that's the story with the younger limelight hydrangeas. Now in here, I also have a Pinky Winky who was like in love with my Endless Summer over here. So I have Pinky Winky hydrangeas that are so pretty, and I found that when I cut them, when they're in like this pinker stage, let me show you a pinker stage because this one has some white on it. When it's cut in this white stage and like the whole bloom is white, I find that when I put it in the vase to dry it out, it turns brown in a matter of like 2 days. So I was so excited because I have a lot of these growing on the flower farm. And I was like, wow, this is going to be like a terrific seller for like some of my bouquets. And then we found that as we put them in the vase after 2 days, they just were like brown. So we couldn't use them. But we found that when we waited until they were in this pink stage, then they had a great vase life. So if you're looking to dry out your Pinky Winky hydrangeas, then wait until they're like all that white's gone. So there's no more white tips. It's totally mature. The white's gone. It's all either green or pink or red. And then chances are you're going to have a much better dried flower arrangement from your Pinky Winkies. And let me see who else is in here. Oh, this is my Annabelle. You guys know I love Annabelle, and I love Incrediball. Incrediball is from Proven Winners, and it's kind of like the newer, more sturdy version of the Annabelle hydrangea. It has sturdier stems, and Proven Winners sent me a whole bunch of them to put in the ground and kind of, test out, and I love them. They're so beautiful. So know that Incrediball is the sturdier plant next to Annabelle. So this is what my Annabelle hydrangeas look like now. And they're green, and this is a magnificent time to cut them because these guys are one of my absolute favorite flowers to dry out. They will last like forever once they're dry, and they're nice and poofy and round. And if you'll notice, the Annabelle hydrangea has like this beautiful snowball form. It's round. So a really quick florist tip, power tip for you guys is this. when you're building out an arrangement that has like all these dried flower arrangements, I like using both these like cone-shaped limelight hydrangea. You can tell it almost looks like a triangle. And I fill in the gaps with my rounder snowballs. Because when you're building out an arrangement and you're going like around and around and around with these big giant triangles, you're going to have gaps in between here because, you know, it slopes down. So those Annabelle hydrangeas are going to clog up those gaps and make it look absolutely amazing. Sorry for all these interruptions today. This is like a wacky day. I think it's because of the rain. Anyway, so that's the idea with when you're doing your arrangements. So that's that. And who else is in here? I have I think this is a Big Daddy. It's either a Big Daddy or an Endless Summer, but this is what it looks like in this like nice and fresh and beautiful stage. So here's the thing. If you try to dry it out in this stage, you may be lucky. Like if you put it in fresh water, you leave it away from direct sunlight, you may wind up, you know, having this flower dry out like this. But chances are that you won't, because it's really fresh and really lush and really like it's not in that semi-dried out stage yet. So I would wait, kind of like that stage that I showed you guys before, where it was kind of like blue and purpley and a little bit deeper, but you can give it a shot. Sometimes people are lucky and it dries out like that. I find that when I cut it, when it's too fresh and fluffy and hydrated, that it doesn't really, you know, work very well. So, but you can try it out. What else do I have back here? Oh, I wanted to give you an update on the plant that I tried to bring back to life. And this is what that looks like. I did a live YouTube a few weeks ago, and I had a plant that was literally like, it looked like it was like 90% dead. It was just sticks and some crummy leaves on it. It was a hydrangea. And I went on vacation and I just kind of forgot about it. And I came back 2 weeks later and it was literally like 90% dead. I did a YouTube live to show you how I tried to bring it back to life. And this is what it looks like now. I mean, not too shabby, right? So you can check out that video. It's in my live, like library collection, you know, on YouTube. But I'll just tell you very quickly, in case you didn't see it, some of the tips that I did. I cut off the really, really, really black dead leaves. I kept the leaves on that looked like they had a little bit of life left. And then I wound up lifting this out of the container, giving the roots a massage because they were kind of root bound and like clogging up any kind of water that was getting into the plant. And then I trimmed off any hollow stems and I kept it in the sunshine and I babied it and watered it like every 2 or 3 days without, you know, without drowning it. And this is what it looks like. So you can check out that video if you like. I'm really proud of it. I'm going to put it in the ground. I wanted to put it in the ground this week, but I didn't. I didn't get a chance to do that. Okay, so that's that live update. I have like a dining room table here that is literally like loaded with all these things I want to show you. This is one of my favorite tips I wanted to share with you today. I was in either Home Depot or Lowe's the other day, and this is my favorite time to go plant shopping because they've got all their plants that are like, they look like they're dying, the perennials that look like they're dying, they have them all hidden in the back. And they want to keep them out, you know, away from like where the beautiful flowers that are blooming now are. And these guys, if you go looking in the back of your Home Depots, your Lowe's, your garden centers, like your local garden centers too, you will find plants that look like this. And they don't look very appealing. They're not very attractive. They're like 40, 50% off because the garden centers and Lowe's and Home Depot, they need to move these out of their inventory. They don't have space to store them because, believe it or not, like all the Halloween and the Christmas stuff's going to start to roll in. So they want to move these plants. If you can find perennial plants that have healthy green leaves and it looks like there's a lot of green growth on them, don't worry about the flowers because these guys, this is what a perennial plant should look like this time of year. I mean, it's fall. It's done flowering. This is a super healthy plant right now. So normally the blooms on this is a black-eyed Susan over back here. And this is what the blooms look like. Normally, like, well, not normally, but like, you know, earlier in the season. So if you go into your garden centers and you find your hydrangeas that are all beat up, peonies, oh my God, don't even get me started. I buy like truckloads of peonies this time of year. If you can find the plants that have the really lush green leaves, they don't look like they have mold on them. They don't look like, you know, they don't look like my semi-dead plant like a few weeks ago. Buy them at these discounts, pop them in the ground now, get them in the ground at least 6 weeks before the first hard freeze. And you are good to go. And then you're going to have gorgeous flowers next year because this is exactly what this black-eyed Susan plant should look like right now. It's not that it's diseased and you know, like, you know, not healthy. This is exactly what it should look like, but it's going to look like this in your garden next season. And these black-eyed Susan blooms pretty much bloom all summer. I mean, I think that I have these yellow flowers for like, I don't know, like 8 weeks. So this is a really fun plant to grow, and it's a profuse self-seeder, and it just spreads out year after year. So that's the story with buying plants this time of year. And I want to see, oh, Priscilla said it's Maryland's flower. Is that right? The black-eyed Susan? Oh, very cool. Oh, and Lisa Borgs found a bunch of Gerber daisies for $1.50. I know, this is crazy. And I got to say, my mother-in-law, who I adore, and she's like this crazy nutty lady, she bought a ton of zinnia seeds at the dollar store that bloomed all over her garden. I actually have to, like put something on Instagram because she's got these gorgeous, gorgeous zinnias popping up, and they were like $1 for like, like all these seeds. So that was really smart. So if you guys have any other tips to tell us where to buy plants, buy seeds, please let us know in comments below. Let us know on our Kelly Lehman's Flower Tribe Facebook group, because you guys are such a wealth of knowledge, and I love seeing all your comments here. I want to take a peek at who's here. So we've got Patricia from Canada. Good morning. Good morning. And let's see, Alina Torres, you're watching from Muskegon, Michigan. Wow, you're vacationing. Never missed my videos. Oh, thank you. You live in Los Angeles, California. Thank you for watching me on vacation. You just made my morning. Like, that's like huge for me. So thank you. I'm extremely honored that you would watch my garden tip video on your vacation. You're a true Flower Tribe member. Oh, and guys, speaking of Flower Tribe members, I'm coming up with some merchandise items. Some of you have asked for like coffee cups and t-shirts, so I'm working on that. I have my assistant Anna, kind of working on some logos and stuff now. So that should be coming out soon on the bottom of YouTube. But I'm even more excited to let you know that my flower courses are going live literally next week. And I know I've been telling you about them for a long time. It took me so long to make them, and I just want them to be perfect. So I'm really just taking a long time getting them kind of buttoned up. But if you guys want, in descriptions below, I have a special VIP early access link. And if you go in descriptions below and you grab that early access link to my flower guides, you put your name in there, you get on my email list. And next week, we're going to send you guys out the flower courses early to take a look at in case you want to buy them. They're $9.95 each. There's 3 courses. One of them is how to grow beautiful perennial flowers for a fresh cut flower garden. The second one is how to grow beautiful annual flowers for a fresh cut flower garden. And the third one is a guide to teach you how to build beautiful arrangements from all the flowers that you're going to grow in your own backyards. And so they're $9.95 a piece. But if you're one of the first 100 people to buy like the bundle, you're going to get all 3 courses for the price of 2. So if you're interested, you can grab that in descriptions below. I'd love to see you on these courses. And we teamed up with this company called Retrieve, and they do like crazy stuff. So what they did was they asked me to come up with a whole bunch of fresh, brand new content of like my best flower tips. And I tried to give you guys the tips that I found to be like, to help you grow the most beautiful flowers that were the easiest to grow, like were low maintenance. And I gave them a whole bunch of brand new videos. And then they went to my YouTube base and they took out some of my favorite videos that I told them about, and they kind of meshed them together and they turned them into this course where you don't have to watch like the entire course. Like, when you read like a gardening book and you're like, oh, I want to learn how to grow hydrangeas. And it's like, oh, here's the history of the hydrangea and this country. And I'm like, I don't care about half this stuff. I just want to know how to pop this baby in the ground. You can search through this course by just popping in terms like, how do I plant my hydrangea? And then boom, like that part of the video pops up. And I'll be like, hey guys, here's how to plant your hydrangea. And then you can also either speak in or like type in, how do I plant sunflower seeds? And then boom, like this video section pops up. Here's how to put your sunflower seeds in the ground. So it's like this ridiculous time saver, and it cuts through all like the chit chat. So, I mean, listen, some of us just want to get the job done. So I think that it's really helpful with that. And you can see this course, like once you buy it, it's translated for you. You can just choose what language you want as you're watching it. And you can get it in English and German and French and Spanish and Portuguese. And as you're watching it, they actually have me like speaking English and French and Portuguese. It's like this really crazy technology. It's also transcribed. Everything that I say, like the entire course, is transcribed in writing beneath the video. So in case you don't want it, in case you're a reader, you'd rather read it. I couldn't say that word rather. And yeah, so anyway, so it's really kind of fun, and that's what the courses are about. And I'll tell you about it again next week. But I think you're gonna like them. But anyway, let me get back to some of these tips. I'm trying to see who else I have on the table here. I have my little notes here. I want to thank Lori B for buying today's cup of caffeine. Lori B, I appreciate your kind comments too on the sponsor page. So thank you for that. So thanks for today's cup of coffee. And what else did I want to tell you about? I told you about the mushy hydrangeas. Guys, really important. When you're drying out the hydrangeas that I told you about before, change the water every day because it starts to get kind of mucky, especially after like a couple days. If you can change it like every 2 days would be fine. Every day would be perfect. Every other day is fine. And what I'm finding is some of the Flower Tribe members are telling us, we were talking a lot about propagating hydrangeas. And so I've been trying to propagate hydrangeas in water, which I know is one of the hardest techniques, but I'm finding that if I put hydrangeas in the water, trying to shift my whole table up without throwing everything out of whack here. Here's the thing, if you're putting these hydrangeas in water anyway to dry them out, leave a couple leaves on the top. And I normally tell you to strip all the leaves off because then, the flower, all the water, was worried about going to the leaves and not the flower head. But if it's this time of year and you're interested in trying to propagate, I'm still trying to figure out this whole propagating thing. I'm leaving the leaves on the plant up top. And I'm putting the bottom in the water and I'm hoping to sprout some roots. And I have to tell you that I think I've tried about 20 hydrangeas and I think 18 of them didn't sprout, but I've got 2 that have roots coming out of them now. I was so excited. It literally took 4 or 5 weeks though to start seeing these roots. And I found that the hydrangeas that it seems to be working on does have some leaves there. And I think it has to do with I don't know, maybe the green leaves helping it, to sustain stuff. I don't know. If you guys know that the reason why that would work, let me know. But I'm trying to teach you guys how to propagate your hydrangeas as I'm learning. And I've got some really nice roots. I should have brought it in here. I think I ran out of table space. I've got some really nice roots that are forming on those hydrangea cuttings that I showed you how to propagate your own hydrangeas in another video. I planted them in a little bit of vermiculite. And they're coming in really nicely now. I wish I had, I would show you on this, but I'm really excited about rooting this guy in the water. What I did was I just kind of cut off, I gave it a cutting and I just stripped off the 2 leaves here and I put a little rooting hormone on it and I popped it right in vermiculite with, that was dampened and I put it in a little tiny greenhouse. But I have a whole video on that and that'll kind of show you, take a look at some of those propagating videos I have in a hydrangea playlist and it shows you exactly how I do that because I'm not doing a good job explaining like that. I realize that. All right, and I think that's it, guys. So if you have some questions, I'm going to try to grab some questions now before you go. You can kind of pop them in the comments to the side. I'll see who's got what. So you're 9. I don't know, I botched that one. You're watching from Myrtle Beach. Oh, that's awesome. You love hydrangeas. Question, do you cut the hydrangeas that have died on the stem or do you leave them? That's a terrific question. Thank you for asking that one. So I like to deadhead a lot of my hydrangeas. So I'll go out there and the ones that are mushy that I just showed you, once they're past their prime, I'll give them just a little deadheading, but I'll only cut them, and I'll show you on this guy, I'll only cut them right beneath the flower. I go to a fresh set of leaves and I'll snip it there. And once again, the reason for that is because a lot of hydrangea varieties, like your Endless Summer, like your Nikos, a lot of next year's flowers are forming lower down on the stem. So I try not to cut my hydrangea stems too long for flower arrangements or even when they're dying out because I don't want to ruin next year's blooms. And that's the case for hydrangeas that come in on old wood. It's not the case with flowers like limelight hydrangea and Annabelle, because those hydrangeas come in on next year's fresh stems. So you can cut them back as much as you want. So here's the story with the limelight hydrangea, these big giant daddies. I will cut these guys back. I'll just give these guys a deadheading because like I said, I'm kind of done with giving them the heavy pruning because I don't want flowers that are this big. It's too giant for me now. And even though it was fun building them out this year, my entire plant is flopped to the ground. So I'm not going to give it a pruning, but what I will do is I'm going to go out there and cut right about here. Let me get rid of some of these leaves. I'm going to go out to the other blooms that look like this at the end of fall, probably November, and I'll give a lot of the heavy ones a snipping right about here. And the reason I'm going to deadhead them is because once the snow gets packed on top of these and the rain, it like will crack entire giant branches at a time. And you don't want your hydrangea plants to have like, tons of cracked branches on them, because then it gets compromised and it can get diseases. So the big giant mama ones, I will wind up, snipping them. And I have to tell you, I'm going to try to make an effort to go out there even earlier in the season, and then just like cut a lot of these into like, and make bouquets and bring them to some of the local hospitals and the local nursing homes. I went out to a man's house yesterday. His name is Rick. I'm going to show you the video soon. He's a dahlia expert, and we did a whole YouTube series with his dahlias. And he told me he makes 10 arrangements every week from his dahlias, and he brings them to like women's shelters. He brings them to libraries, to hospitals. And I was like, oh my God, this person is like so much better than me. He's such a kinder version of the person, that I wish I was. And so I'm going to try to be a better person because of Rick, and do a similar thing. So if you have beautiful flowers in your garden and it's time to kind of give them like a deadheading, maybe consider bringing them to like a nursing home or a hospital. I'm going to try to do the same thing. And I thought that was really cool. So thank you, Rick, for giving me the tour. And thank you for giving me that great random act of kindness to do. But yeah, so anyway, to make a short story long, I will deadhead a lot of them. I can't get to all the deadheading of all my hydrangeas because we literally have like hundreds of them. And the ones that I don't deadhead, they're fine too. So don't feel like you have to go out there and deadhead everything. I would have to say 80% of my hydrangeas, I don't deadhead. I will leave those flower heads intact. And some people like doing that because they say that, and this is, I think it's true, they say that these blooms, if you leave them in place, will protect next year's, little flowers that are set in place now. It'll protect them from like the harsh wind, the harsh winter. I think someone from England gave me that advice. They were like, don't deadhead them, especially on endless summers and ecos, because the smaller buds need the protection of that. So that's just another, school of thought, which I think is very smart. So if you don't get a chance to deadhead them all, I don't even think it's necessary. You don't have to. But a lot of times people will say, well, if you deadhead them, it gives the plant like a little bit of more energy to put into like the roots and the leaves, because it's not supporting these heavy heads, and the plant then doesn't have to worry about going to seed. So just a couple different schools of thought there, but that was a terrific question. So thank you so much for that. Let's see, Gilda Molnar, you're from Temecula, California. Wow, very nice. Okay. Oh, Aaron Scott, bonjour from Paris, like every week. Aaron, thank you. I love seeing like the people that come back week after week. It's so exciting for me. Thank you for showing up from Paris every week. That's like very exotic for me. So thank you. Let's see. Oh, wow. Jerry Smith from Ireland. Hey, I used to live in Dublin. I lived in Upper Drumcondra for 6 months, like a million years ago. Beautiful town, beautiful city, great crack. And for guys, don't freak out everyone that I just said great crack. That means like a really good time in Ireland when you have great crack. So I had great crack when I was there. I had a really good time. It's nice to see you. Should I prune a climbing hydrangea? And when should I prune? I have a lace cap, Runaway Bride. It has loads of tiny leaves. Here's the thing. I don't grow any climbing hydrangeas now because I don't even know why. I need to. And I know that Runaway Bride I keep reading about and hearing about. So actually, because of you, Jerry Smith, I'm probably going to go out and try to find one today, because people keep asking me about their lace caps and their climbers because they're spectacular. And I'm just being like transparent. I don't grow any here, so I can't give you good advice. Any Flower Tribe members know when's the best time to prune back your climbing hydrangeas? We'll hang out for a little bit. Check out the chat there. Let Jerry and me, let us both know, because I'm curious too. I don't know. I don't want to give you bad advice, so I'm just gonna opt out and say I'm not really sure. But I am probably going to get a climbing hydrangea because of you, Jerry Smith. So thank you for checking in from Ireland. And anyone with those tips about climbing hydrangeas, let us know in like the chat or in comments below, like your best climbing hydrangea tips, because I need to learn how to grow these guys. So I'm like basically giving you these tips as I'm learning them, like week to week. And there's so much more to learn. So I love learning from our Flower Tribe. I'm just really learning a lot about dahlias this year too. So like dahlias are my new like obsession. I'm going to show you how to dig them up in November to get like more dahlia plants to kind of store away and plant next year in like your spring garden. So that's going to be a whole series that's coming up. So let's see. Yvonne Cassidy says, I have 2 hydrangeas and can't get any blooms. Okay, from Glasgow, Scotland. Oh, wow, you guys are from all over the place. This is a great question. So Yvonne, there's usually like, I don't know, like 5 or 6 major reasons why they're not blooming. The first reason that I think is probably the #1 reason is because people over fertilize. So a lot of times people think that they have to fertilize their hydrangea like year after year, a few times a year. And a lot of fertilizers, have a lot of nitrogen in them. And nitrogen encourages really, really lush green leaves. But if you have too much nitrogen in your soil, the plant gets so happy and so healthy and so lush and green that it decides not to pump out any flower heads. And so my rule of thumb is get a soil test and find out what your nitrogen levels are, what your phosphorus levels are. You can ask like someone at like your local garden center to help you, see what the results mean. But most of the time people have too much nitrogen because they just over fertilize them to death. And then the whole plant looks super healthy, but there's no blooms on them. And I think the second major cause of getting no blooms in your hydrangea is because people prune them back the wrong time of year. So if you went out to your garden right now, and if you had a whole bunch of endless summer and Nico hydrangeas, and you were like, oh, it's the end of the season, I'm going to cut off, all the flowering heads. But instead of just deadheading them and cutting them like, right here, if you cut back the whole plant to like, the bottom, a lot of times people will cut them back to only like 18 inches. You will have literally cut off all of or most of next year's blooms when you did that, because like I said, they're kind of forming on the stems right now on that old wood. So you need to know what type of hydrangea you have. And if it comes in on old wood, don't prune it back, because if you do that, you're going to chop off all of next year's blooms. And the third reason a lot of hydrangeas don't bloom is they're not getting the proper sunlight requirements. So they're either getting too much sun or they're getting too little sun. And each variety of hydrangea is different. Like limelight hydrangeas can be planted in full sun. And I think the one thing I do know about lace caps, or I think I know, I'm not questioning myself now, I think lace caps or mountain hydrangeas might be better in like semi-shade. I think that's the story. Don't hold me to it. But so you need to really take a look at those tags when you buy the plant and take a look at what the sunlight requirement is, because that's huge. And then watering. People overwater their hydrangeas, or they underwater their hydrangeas. So if your hydrangea is underwatered, it's not going to give you blooms. But if you overwater it, you're not going to get blooms either. And here's the catch. An underwatered hydrangea, like one that's not getting enough water, looks the same sometimes as an overwatered one, because a lot of times when you don't have enough like hydration for the plant, enough water, the leaves will start getting like crispy and shriveled up, and they look really crummy. If you keep watering that plant like every day and you soak it and you waterlog the roots, the same thing's going to happen. The leaves are going to look like they're shriveled up and sick. So what happens is people come out, they have a plant that's totally overwatered, and they say, oh, the leaves are all shriveled up, it needs more water. And then they'll overwater it again, and then eventually the plant has root rot, and you won't get blooms if it's getting too much water or too little water. And I think that those are like the major reasons. I actually have a video, and it's called Why Isn't My Hydrangea Blooming? And I think it lists like maybe 7 or 8 actual things, and it shows you, the things I just talked about. You're welcome to check that out too. I think I have like a playlist of hydrangea care tips. I think there's like 30 videos in there now, and it's more specific. Like here's your Annabelle, here's tips on limelight, here's tips on endless summer. So please check that video out. I would love for you guys to see that. Let's see who else is in here. What do we got? Any fall advice for quick fire? I just planted quick fire this year. So once again, I'm not going to give advice yet because I'm still trying to figure it out, but I know that it's like this super popular plant to put in the ground. So I just put it in. I'm just figuring this plant out. But if anybody has any fall tips for quick fire, put them in comments below. Flower Tribe, we need you. Like we need your help. So hop on over to that Kelly Lehman's Flower Tribe Facebook group too if you have any great tips for firelight for fall care. I love that. Or put them in comments here, or put them in comments below. And guys, it helps me a lot. I know this sounds so silly. If you like the video and you give me a thumbs up, and you could just give me a comment below, it just helps my algorithm. It just helps my channel, and I would appreciate it. So that's always really helpful. Let's see what else you guys got. Okay, so Yvonne Cassidy said, yes, that's what happened last year. You pruned the hydrangea too severely and no blooms. All right, so listen, this year, does that mean I'll get them next year? Yeah, so chances are, Yvonne, if you hacked them back at the wrong time last year. It's not a big deal. You didn't get blooms this year. Chances are they're going to come in the following year. So we all make mistakes. It's not a big deal. I do that. I to this day, sometimes I'll do it by accident. So yeah, don't worry. You should probably have blooms next year. Oh, another reason why you might not be getting blooms is sometimes you'll get something called winter zap. And that happens in like northern places, like not super northern, like New Jersey northern. And what happens is you'll have plants like this limelight hydrangea, and you'll get like those little buds I was telling you that are kind of forming on last year's old wood. And in springtime, they start to come out. They start to look, like a little bit like this. Like you get these little green growths, and they're starting to come out. And then all of a sudden we'll get like zonked by like a crazy snow or like a crazy like cold weather. And what happens is sometimes those are frozen off. And if those buds are frozen off in spring, you're going to lose the bloom. And a quick fix for that is you can wrap your hydrangea in like burlap, like just either burlap or a sheet, or some people will put like chicken wire around the plant and then fill it loosely with leaves. And then that will protect those blooms from getting that winter zap. But be careful, guys. Like, don't go crazy with this, because you don't want to go out now in fall and like surround your hydrangeas with burlap wrap and sheets. And then all of a sudden we get like a big heat, like sometimes in October we'll get like a crazy warm week, because you don't want to like suffocate the plant. So I would only do that in like super cold temperatures, like you guys know, like you guys that are like planting, in like super cold temps, you know that, you need to wrap certain plants at certain times. So check out what your garden centers say about wrapping and what time of year you should do it in your neck of the woods. So that's kind of like a fun tip. Christina Bianca, how do you identify what type of plant you have? I moved into a place and they're already here. Okay, so this is awesome. There's an app, it's called Garden Answers. And I really love them. I have to say, I did like a brand video for them. And it's on your phone, like you go into like the app store. So it's Garden Answers, plural. And you basically take a picture of your plant, and within like a minute, like it pops up with what the name is. So it's really cool. So it's Garden Answers. And what I do sometimes is, if I don't know what a plant is, I will either, take a picture of it and go to my garden center. Like, I'm the biggest nudge when I go to the garden center. I'm always like chasing the people down, being like, can you tell me, or do you have any advice on? And they're always like, oh, like really, like how many questions can you ask me? But ask, it's okay. So ask people at your garden center. And I also do a lot of Google searches. Like, I love Google search. If you go to like put in like, if you have a white hydrangea, but you don't know the name of it, type in white hydrangea and then hit images. And then, like 5,000 images will populate, and then you'll find the one that, looks like your hydrangea. You'll click on it, and chances are the website that it brings you to, will probably identify what it is. So those are my tips for identifying. I also have a video that I made where I do identify, I think like 7 or 8 popular hydrangeas that I'm growing here. So you can check that out on that hydrangea playlist. And maybe the ones that I'm growing here might be the ones that are in your yard. I know a lot of you are new homeowners, so you have a lot of these landscaping things. And I'm trying to make up a whole bunch of courses now too for like easy landscaping. So that's coming up next. Let's see. Oh, I love this name, Z Kamain. Oh, if I said that right. Oh, I finally caught you live. Okay, not getting notification. Oh, you're not getting notifications? I don't know. Sometimes I'm wacky with my technology. It's probably something. It's not you, it's me. It's probably something on my end. I'll try to fix that. I'm not sure why people aren't getting notified. But anyway, I try to go live, guys. I try to make it like very episodal. So I'm trying to go live for you guys every Thursday at 10:30 a.m. And I think I've been doing it since like March. So I'm trying really hard. So you guys know, 10:30 a.m., you have coffee with Kelly, you'll get some great tips. And then if you can't make that 10:30 live, I always repost. So then you can have like drinks with me later on if you want. So you can get like a martinis with Kelly or a Coors Light. That's like my drink. So, or whiskey with Kelly. That's my other drink. So no, you can watch it later on like happy hour. So let's see what else we got. Let's see. Nancy says there's a great app called Picture This. Okay, so another garden. So is Picture This? So Nancy, is Picture This for gardening or like for everything? So apparently it's an app called Picture This, and I guess you take a picture. So try those both out. Yeah. Katie Gingrich is from Nirvan, PA. Welcome. And let's see. Okay, so Lisa got the notification. All right, yeah, I don't know. Oh, Zerzik Maine. Did I say that better now? Thank you for the correction there. I always appreciate that. Zurich, Maine. I hope I said that right. So listen, guys, I want to thank you again for showing up. I love seeing you all here. Please hop on over to that Kelly Lehman's Flower Tribe Facebook page. I love seeing how like that group is growing every week, and post pictures of your own flowers. I love seeing what you guys are growing. It's amazing. And I guess that's it. If you guys have any ideas for future videos that you like information about, put them in comments below, put them in the chat next to me, because my entire channel is for you guys. I really just want to give you as much value as I can. And I love sharing the tips that I've learned over the course of the past like 15 years, because I've made so many blunders. I am like the queen of like the gardening nightmares, and I want to save you guys a lot of that heartache. So yeah, thanks again for showing up. It means a lot to me. Oh, I have to answer one more question. What is wrong with the plant when you have brown spots on leaves? So like there's a myriad of reasons why that would happen. This time of year, though, sometimes, listen, sometimes it's insect related, sometimes the plant has a disease, sometimes it's a fungal disease, but I find that most of the time in fall, it's just the changing of the seasons and a lot of moisture that winds up on the plant leaves in the afternoon. And then we go into like nighttime and it gets colder. And a lot of times it just forms those spots. Like my hydrangeas right now all have like little brown spots on them, and they're not sick. They don't have major fungal issues. They're not diseased. It's just that they had moisture on them, and then we've had some cooler temps at night, and then it kind of caused that. So if your plant still looks healthy and it's not like totally brown, chances are it's just because of that changing of the season. But if you want like a better advice is to like snip a branch of it and bring it to your local garden center and say, hey, listen, is this something that I need to deal with? Or is this just the changing of the season and they get kind of funky looking at this time? It could also mean that your plant needs water. And it could also mean that your plant is being overwatered. So like there's a lot of reasons why you could have brown leaves, but that was a great question. Okay, guys, so I am going to take off right now because I'm still trying to upload a ton of videos for those courses. And we're just kind of like I said, buttoning everything up. And I hope you really like them. And I hope to see you there. And come say hi to us over on my Kelly Lehman Flowers TikTok page. So now we're on TikTok too. Who knew this like crazy like millennial social media world is so fun. So I'll see you at Cranbury Fields Instagram page and Kelly Lehman Flowers TikTok page, and I don't know, Google it, you'll find me eventually. And I hope to keep giving you more and more tips on all these different social media platforms. And Pinterest too. I'm on, my Pinterest page is Cranbury Fields Kelly Lehman. I think I've got like 2,000 pins on there with like all different ideas. So check out some of the flowers on Pinterest. And if for nothing else, it'll give you garden design ideas, and it will give you like flower arranging ideas, just taking a look at some of the pictures real fast. And I link them all to like my articles, and I'll link all those Pinterest pins to like some of the garden tip videos that I have too. So, okay, guys, thanks again for the light. I appreciate that. Thank you for the supporters who brought me cups of coffee, and I will see you all in the next video. Let me figure out how to end this live because that's always a challenge for me. I'm like such a slow learner. Okay, I think I got it. No, of course I don't. Now I do. Bye.